Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim, and thank you all so much for all the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. So there is a video Dr. Umar made, and he was talking about how Korean beauty brands like Asian beauty brands had taken over Black community, and how they've been able to help one another to move forward. That is Korean beauty brands, right? And you all already know that Black dollars does not spend a lot of time in Black community. It all straight up go to them. And also have also explained or talked about how most of these businesses in Black communities, how they were able to come over to Black community. Why? Because refused them to be in their community. So they gave them loan to move over to Black community and establish the same loan they refused to give people like me. So he also explained that Black people do not give themselves opportunity to expand, to grow also, because to him, he is talking about how do Black people grow, take over businesses in Black communities and all that. And a lot of people came out with so many solutions, or not really solutions, talking about how Asian business in the Black communities, how they operate and how it all started. And while I was doing my research, I also came across a video, a comment where somebody was also talking about how before civil rights, that Black communities was all Black businesses and everything. You know what? Let's get into this.
Dr. Umar, this is a flat out lie.
How did the Asians take over the Black hair care industry? You know how the Koreans took it? Because the sisters doing hair was too busy what? Competing for customers. The brothers with the barbershops were too busy what? Competing for who got the best shape up instead of consolidating. And so the Koreans came to them and said, oh, all this money, none of them working together. Guess what we gonna do? We're gonna take over all the supplies. And now it's a what? Multi-billion-dollar business because Black folks don't want to work together.
For sure.
If you don't work together, you always give an opportunity for the
Number one, that's a lie. In an article titled How Koreans Entered the Black Hair Care Business, it states that in 1965, the Korean wig merchants joined together and convinced the Korean government to outlaw the export on raw hair. This means Dr. Umar's argument about it being some pathological reason why we didn't want to work together instead of policy is empirically false. The article goes on to state that this policy ban made it so that one could only buy pre-made wigs and extensions. In other words, Korean hair could only be manufactured in Korea. 6 months later, the United States government created a ban on any wig that contained hair from China, effectively putting South Korea in prime position to exploit the market, creating a monopoly. Favorable laws allowed many Korean entrepreneurs and seller wigs to prosper over the next 5 decades. In this instance, Dr. Umar is pushing research, not research, when he's forwarding these empirically false narratives. Sprinkling some context on it today, there are over 9,000 Korean-owned beauty supply stores serving $1 billion market of Black hair between manufacturing, distributing, and selling their hair care products. Korean entrepreneurs appear to control all major components. To be a self-proclaimed Pan-Africanist, it sure does push a lot of Black inferiority that be empirically false. According to Ronan, there are only 4 central distributors serving beauty supply stores in the country, and these Korean-owned distributors discriminate against Black store owners in order to maintain their monopoly in the market. I made an entire YouTube video specifically getting into the historicity and the policies that make it where Asian businesses in the Black community are so dominant. Here goes one more source before I get up out of here, man. In this journal right here titled Ethnically Segmented Market, Korean-Owned Business Black Stores, it argues that Korean American sellers, the market main producers, maintain dominance not through structural or cultural advantages, but by collusion and exclusion. In mainstream economies, these strategies are employed by so many dominant firms they have become the staple of antitrust cases. During the 1970s, a combination of economic forces, racial structures, and shifting beauty standards initially propelled Korean-owned firms to power. Education is elevation, and check out this video if you want to learn more. Dr. Umar, this is a flat-out lie.
How did the Asians take over the Black hair care?
No, that part I disagreed with Dr. Umar. You know, there was always competition with that and so forth. But however, most of the companies started going overseas during certain type of administration of presidents. Okay, take the Reagan administration, for example. we had a company called Dudley Products. Now, Dudley Products had all kinds of products. They're the ones that did applications for relaxers, Jerry curls, all kinds of stuff. And they also, I think they had merged with Johnson & Johnson products a little bit. And they had a universal school. And that was an all-black made. And it was an all-black team, especially the school. If you was a cosmetologist and you graduated from cosmetology school, you will know about Dudley Products. And even the gentleman who invented Jerry Curl, and also no live relaxers on women, and also with live relaxers and all kinds of haircut products. They were all black owned. Matter of fact, the factories were right here in America. Now, when it started becoming with production situation, here started double taxing some of these companies. This federal government here, they started taxing. They wasn't doing it to certain type of companies, but they were mostly doing it in the black companies. I can tell you that from experience because I have family that was in the hair business. And while they were doing that, because I remember distributors, if you needed to get any kind of products that's relate for African or Black American hair products, even dyes, colors, and everything, they had that connection. Even if it was different products from companies, they will still work together and do that alongside and even have a teaching class. That is when cosmetology and beautician was number one. Okay, especially, and they had, to this day, like they have the hair shows, they were there too. Matter of fact, they're the ones that started the hair shows. Yes, black owned business. Then good old President Ronald Reagan and many others decided to say, we need to trade with the foreigners. That was their way of telling their people to go and do your foreigners, have your business over there, and then you pay less the tax. You're going to pay in the beginning, but at the end, as everything goes smooth, less the tax. And that's what Reagan was doing to all of the people that was owned. Okay, with LLCs, then they end up turning into corporations. They started, the same corporation said, I'm going to merge with your company. I'm going to invest your company. Next minute, they started to buy out some of these companies. Yes, right behind their nose, right underneath their nose. And then people kept on saying, oh, they sold out to the company. No, they did not. Okay? No, they did not. Because the government kept on taxing them and then needed to bail them out. So therefore, these companies turn around and say, I'm going to merge with you. Little did they know, they pretty much had buy these people out and transfer them to the Asian areas like South Korea, Thailand, whatever, even in China and so forth, and Singapore and whatever. A long story short, when they started, then the Asians became very smart. They said, okay, we got all these products here. We know how to do basically these products. So we're going to start making our own business, and then they're going to have to end up buying these products for us. You see, that wasn't a smart move that Reagan had taught them to do that, but Reagan was looking for revenue and was looking for money within that situation, because this is where they were going to foreign and doing trades and stuff, and he was helping his friends to pay less taxes and tax cuts and all that stuff like that. Yes, and all of them were doing it, from his administration all the way down to Obama administration, and even to Bill Clinton and Trump administration as well too. But going back to the time when black people started owning their own shops, which they did, they had their own products and stuff like that. What did you think has started came to disrupt the area of the community? Drugs. Okay? Drugs. And I'm talking about crack. People were making money, people were doing things, and the next minute they end up getting hooked on it and stuff like that. Businesses started becoming belly up because there was a time when we had a crisis. In the late 80s and 90s, it was a financial crisis. It was to the point that these small mom and pops versus with LLCs, they were getting stuck. And during those administration, they was not going to help them, especially if it was black owned businesses. So therefore, what did they have to do? They started merging with the Asian people. But little did they know the Asian people started buying them out. And that's what really happened. I'm telling you stuff from personal experience. I don't have no papers or anything. I'm telling you from personal experience, because I had family members that had owned shops, and they had owned beauty salon stores, all of that stuff like that. And they will tell you it was because, number one, when crack came, That's when everything in the economy had messed up. Then they said they blamed Reagan administration all the way to the Bush administration because it made the businesses become cash poor because they kept on overtaxing them, putting new registration laws in some of the places, especially in New York. Okay? Then not only that, when they were starting penny pinching against the black communities, they were not giving them aid and assessments. They had to bail out things of their own. Okay? So when they started trading with the foreigners, especially people in the Asian, they pretty much bamboozled them. Okay? And made them into the situation that because America had made them cash poor and they bailed them out, what do you think that happened? All of their products and everything was being transferred over to them. They had all their agreements, all of their stuff, and even their patents, their trademarks and everything. So what do you think that was happening? They ended up taking over the business. Yeah, they ended up taking the business. And I remember back in the days, even if there was a shop around the corner or the shop on the other side or the shop across the street, everybody was making money. And if one shop was overbooked and they had walk-ins, they'll tell you to, oh, go to the shop around the corner. She could do the braids. And I'll call her up right now and know that you coming over there. That's how we did it back in the days. Because I remember going to Guyborough, get my hair done and stuff like that. And it was a good trade and it was a good hustle. But good old-fashioned Republican and Democrat and Liberal Party. But it starts from the Reagan administration all the way down to, you could say, pretty much to the Obama going into Trump. And then when they started going to foreign trades and taking some of the businesses, even the small businesses, and bringing them over there to the overseas, that was a wrap. And you know something? All they had to do was give cutbacks, help and save some of these businesses, and have these businesses and strengthen them. But guess what? When it came to black owned, it was hard to get a loan. It was hard to get a bailout. It was hard to get distribution, this, and it was hard to do that. That's why a lot of businesses that was black owned, they had basically came up with their own networking. And they started getting black owned businesses, going to the neighborhood, going to their senator, the counselor, and even going to people where they started making black owned business to help them. And that was a problem. You understand? That was a problem because where these people are getting money from and we got to make sure that this money's legit and this and everything like that. Okay? And then some of them, no offense, they had to go to these street hustlers and make a business proposition so they can keep their businesses. Yeah, they had nothing. They had no choice. If the banks wasn't helping them, even though they're giving revenue into the bank, who else you think is going to help them? And the government wasn't helping them. And then later on, they just say, you know what? F it. And then they started selling it and giving it to the Asian community. And the Asian community, here was the thing. They kept it to themselves and never helped even future or potential people of color. And that is the truth. Because I remember one time, there was a segment this man told on a documentary. He said, one time he asked, because he wanted to invest into business, because he had other businesses, and he wanted to go back into the hair care business and invest. So he asked the Asian man, and the Asian man said something very racist, and he didn't want to repeat it on, and he said, wow. He said, imagine, we gave it to them, and they took it, and they just claim it for themselves and act like they own something. That's why when you come up with ideas and stuff, y'all need to keep your patent to yourself. Make sure you have your copyright. Make sure you have your trademark. Make sure you have backup money as a revenue that in case of anything, they don't have to turn around and have these corporations to come and want to sell out your business. Okay? Even when you go to factories, try to see if there's factories within America. There's still factories and warehouses. And that's why I say some of these people with the entrepreneur, with hair care line and stuff, try to save up your money and put it on factories and warehouse here and have it here. And you see that it will be claimed here and you don't have to worry about people stealing your items and your merchandise.
The purpose of this video is to not only expose the way in which white supremacy loves to deploy tactics of divide and conquer against different minorities, we also going to get into how anti-blackness becomes a way for mobility for individuals, foster relationships amongst communities, and not cause division amongst them. UEP Newton once said that power is the ability to define the phenomenon and make it act in a desired manner. And the phenomenon we're going to be getting into today is how there are so many immigrant-owned businesses in the black community. and how a lot of people are indoctrinated to believing that you can take advantage of Black people in order to experience upper mobility, including Black people. Research over me search, education is elevation. Today's conversation is going to take a lot of intellectual maturity. We're going to have a crucial conversation about power, domination in the Black community, and how Black people become what Dr. Frank Woodison calls the junior partners of civil society. When it comes to systems of capitalism or systems of anti-Blackness, Black people are seen as a fair for all game for everybody to be able to explore by impoverished positions, to be able to build profit off our backs. Everybody views being able to take advantage of Black people's poor positions to be able to build, you feel me? And that's just kind of like truism within America, even when it comes to Black people. Even Black people believe that we should be able to take advantage of poor Black people the way we want to, the way we feel. And that's when we start getting into this question of how there are so many immigrant-owned businesses in the Black community. If you want to be more specific, one could ask why there are so many Asian-owned businesses inside the Black community. Throughout this video, I plan to sprinkle a little bit of nuance, not only in terms of policy, but also in terms of historical events and also in terms of human relations and how ideologies start to get into how systems operate. This video was inspired by a TikToker by the name of Circus Fairy. Shout out to Circus Fairy. They're the ones that did.
Asian American businesses have been operating in Black communities for 60 years. I'll say it again. The Civil Rights Act passed in 1964, and the United States opened the door to Asian immigration in 1965 to put immigrants in the way of Black people. And this idea that the tension between business owners and customers is one of mutual cultural misunderstanding that could be overcome if they just got to know each other better, the time for that has long passed. And as I've said before, the problem with framing the misunderstanding as mutual is where one demographic owns the businesses and the other demographic has to pay. There's no mutuality. There is a power imbalance. The only situation that I could see being beneficial at this point would require Asian Americans to be willing to leverage their ability to secure the business loans, to secure supplier accounts, and to attain business licenses, to open in Black communities specifically to hire Black people to work in the businesses and to provide the professional development opportunities so that Black people can become the leadership in the businesses in their communities. But I don't have a lot of hope that Asian Americans are willing to do that because the Asian American business owners that we see currently are not even willing to treat their Black customers as human. So I fully support Black people boycotting these problematic businesses in their community. And I want to say that I think another thing that non-Black people aren't aware of is that it is not as simple as boycotting the businesses and putting them out of business and then opening your own to compete. Because the system will find ways to still not give them the loans or rezone them so they can't open a business or not grant the business licenses. And suppliers are literally conspiring against Black people who have managed to open a business in their own community to not supply to them because they don't want Black people competing with the Asian American owned businesses in the community. So I wish that I had more to offer in the way of solutions, but I really don't. But please do not gaslight Black people with respect to what the issue is.
So this is all I got from this video, and the truth is that Black people, okay, now let me start by historically, right? Because I see some people talking about this, I went to this thing to check what is going on and all that. This video has actually been long. They made, I think, last year or something like that. And I probably might have brought something like this here. But because Dr. Umar said that it is because Black people do not want to, put one another, through the business or probably wanting to monopolize everything. That's why, Black people are probably not dominating when it comes to maybe beauty stores and all that. I want you to know that Black people actually have tried doing that, but they found that most stores, because for them to start selling the products, They also need to get them from Asian stores or Korean stores or something like that. But at some point, they found out that Black people also want to start the same business. They stopped or they refused to set Black people in bulk, right? So how do they want to do it? And at the same time, I remember that before the civil rights, if you check around, Black neighborhoods were it was all Black people, like, it was all Black owned business. Everything was all Black owned business. I mean, they have grocery stores, they have movies, theater, pharmacies, restaurant, like a lot of it, and it was all Black, like it was really Black neighborhood, But after civil rights, movement, the government bought most of the businesses, right? And the neighborhoods too. And now, unfortunately, most people do not own anything. So if you remember, there was a video that I brought here some time ago. I probably will attach it to here so some of you will see it, where she was saying that most Asians, because white people, like, do not want them to be in the same neighborhood with them, so they decided to give them loan to go out and establish in Black communities and all that. I don't know, you probably might have had that and all that. Probably might have heard this and all that. It's not new to Black people and the rest of it. So Black people really, they did own their own homes and a stable community and more, like, even education, like a whole lot. Not until after the civil rights, like, after the burning and the civil rights and all that, they chose, like, man, this community, how are we supposed to be having you all already know how some of the ones they call race massacre, which you all know that it was not, race riot, it was called race riot, which I and you know it was not that, right? I don't want to go into details and the rest of it, but there is something that I want to do. There is also so much competition when it comes to, like, the whole thing, especially, like, the beauty stores and all that. The truth is that most Black businesses, or should I say Black people also, if you really want to patronize Black owned businesses, right, you have to do the work. I always say that you have to do the work, look for where you can find Black stores and patronize them, right? It might be expensive. Why? Because most of them do not sell so much in bulk, like, some of them are handmade. Yes, so it might be kind of a bit more expensive, but trust me, you are getting something value, like, value for your money. And most of them are also natural products, right? And another one I'm going to say is that I understand that most of the stores, like Asian stores or beauty stores in Black community, they're all owned by them and all that. And then nobody's also forcing you or forcing us to go into that store to buy, right? So you can choose to buy or choose not to buy. Because from what Amishan said, she said that most of them, all these stores, because I have seen so many Asian stores not being so good to people that look like me, forgetting that they're 80%, if I am not mistaken, are all Black people patronizing their products or buying their brands and all of that. But still, they do not respect or appreciate. So they are also saying, she is also saying, if they do not treat you well, you can choose to kick them out. It's either you stay or you leave. I keep saying that any place where you go to and you feel like you are not wanted and all that, when I say that, I am saying it with all my heart because I have also experienced it. I went to a restaurant. I found out that I was not wanted there. I absolutely carried myself and I left it there. So what I say here, I also apply that on my day-to-day activities. So it's either you go natural or you stop buying. It's easy. Because we cannot keep saying we are not being treated well. We are not being treated well. I mean, they are taking, you all already know, Black dollar, how many hours Black dollar stays in Black community. It actually doesn't stay. But you can also help yourself by making the money stay in your own community. Nobody can do that. Nobody can help you do that aside from yourselves. Aside from yourself. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.